Hey everyone, welcome on to Branded. Today's episode was inspired by another podcast episode that I came across. The episode was interviewing Myron Golden, and he was talking about this really powerful but super simple concept that I thought this is a great reminder. This was a great reminder for myself. I want to share this on my own podcast. So, what we're going to talk about today is roots before fruit and why your brand grows in the dark first. So, some of the stuff that we talk about today might sound a little bit woo woo or whatever, but honestly, it is rooted in truth. Like, quite literally, we're talking about the root system. We're talking about that quiet, underground, dark, damp place that so much of our work happens that nobody sees, nobody claps for, but how vital that work is for everything, the big, beautiful things that you see, all the fruit, right? So the concept is so simple. A tree is always growing in two directions simultaneously. It is growing down before it is ever growing up. And the moment it breaks through the ground and starts growing up, it will continue to grow down. It will continue to make a root system that is strong enough to support what is happening above the ground. A tree is always growing in two directions. So interesting, so simple. And when I thought about how this relates to building a brand, to launching a business, being an entrepreneur, it is exactly the same way. Like 100%. And that's what's so neat about nature and everything, at least for myself, is there's this like really beautiful sort of connection between what happens in nature and what happens in our everyday lives. And if we just pause for a moment to really appreciate the actual occurrences that happen in nature, we really can accept and go through our own life with so much less stress and force and heaviness. So, yeah, you want the success. Yes, you want this big, beautiful brand. What are you doing right now to create a root system for it? Are you just breezing through that part? Because if you do, you're not going to have roots strong enough to support what you're wanting to create. So, knowing this, right, your brand is exactly like this tree. It has to grow down first before it can grow up. And the moment it breaks ground, it's consistently doing both. Strong roots, beautiful fruit. So let's talk about the roots. Let's talk about this root system, let's say. Before you ever see a tree sprout from the ground, it's growing downwards. It's spreading out and sort of building this like stable foundation for itself. It has a lot of obstacles to go through, right? It's through this dense, dark dirt. There's probably rocks. There's probably all sorts of other bugs. There's probably other root systems that they're having to coexist with. But it's spreading and creating this really stable foundation and laying the groundwork to support everything that's going to be showing up above the surface later on. All the shade, all the fruit, all the beautifulness, all of that does not exist without a strong root system. And your business and your brand are exactly the same way. So in the beginning, this tree, this seed, right? It's dark, it's underground, it's quiet, it's damp. And guess what? Nobody's clapping for that part. Unless you're a gardener and this is something that you do all the time, you're probably not walking past an open field where you have no idea if there's something planted there and clapping for it, right? You're like, you're going to be really beautiful one day. Nobody's clapping for that. For that quiet, unseen part of the journey, no one's clapping. That early stage of building your brand is so the same. At least my experience was, right? You know, I'm not really out there posting a logo or showing up a new website yet, especially when you're kind of getting things up off the ground rolling, you're wanting to like experiment, test your offers, have some conversations. You're probably second guessing, like, do I need a niche? What is my niche? Wondering if what you have to say even matters, right? Uh, you might even be crying over like, what font do I use? This none of it's just looking right, and there's a million and one fonts to do, and your eyes go crossed, and you're like, ugh. Okay, maybe it's just me. I don't know, but this is work that no one really sees. This is the messy, murky, in the dark kind of work. And when you shift your perspective to appreciating this sort of messy, murky, in the dark kind of work, because you know it's your root system, you sort of remove a lot of that stress. You remove a lot of that comparison. You remove a lot of that imposter syndrome, and you just do because it's the part that you know is necessary to make the fruit possible. So I get it that in the beginning, it feels like you're just walking around in the dark, bumping into furniture. Like so much of building a brand and a business, especially in the beginning, but honestly, it continues. It continues because we're always evolving, right? It really can feel like you're just walking around in the dark, bumping into shit. Um, let's say, like, okay, you get up in the middle of the night, you want to go to the bathroom, you don't want to turn on any lights, you want to stay sleepy and like not wake anybody up. Yet you end up like bumping into and stubbing your toe on every piece of furniture that ever existed. You're like, where did this thing come from? It wasn't here earlier, right? So the beginning stages of building your brand and building your business can absolutely feel like this. You've got a general direction of where you're going with everything, but you kind of feel like you're constantly bumping into things. You're questioning everything. This is the same as the tree roots. Do you think that that root system just has an easy peasy time? Just, oop, now I'm in the dirt and now I'm here and nothing's in my way. No, that dirt can be so compact and tight. I mean, have you ever tried to dig a hole to plant something? The dirt's not always loose. Sometimes you've got this hard clay. Sometimes you've got rock in there. You've got all sorts of minerals. There are obstacles that those root systems are bumping into in the dark. Same as you bumping into things in the dark as you're building and launching and creating and experimenting. It's messy, it's murky, it's in the dark. No one's clapping for it, but it is 100% necessary to see the fruit that will be produced. So you can think about trying someone else's strategy, but it might not quite fit, right? You can launch something and it might fall flat. You can second guess your offers, your voice, your worth. I mean, gosh, it sucks, but it happens. But even when you're doing those things, even when you're second guessing yourself, even when you're feeling like what you have to say doesn't matter, but you're still showing up and you're still creating and doing and pushing through that dark, murky work, that is still movement. That is still growth. That is still you creating a root system. So all the tension and that resistance that you feel as you're sort of bumping into things in the dark, but you're not letting it stop you, that's where that clarity starts to really kind of bloom, right? You get this little pinpoint of light in that dark space. And you're like, whoa, okay, let me walk towards that, right? That's where you start to see these moments of clarity start to reveal themselves. But only if you let it, only if you allow that root system to do the work that it's meant to do. It's meant to be messy. It's meant to have obstacles. It's meant to be a little bit lonely, like in the way of your voice is the most important voice when it comes to making decisions for your brand. So that's what I mean by lonely, right? You're not really listening to other people's opinions about it because it has to be so aligned for you in order for that root system to actually take. So how do you keep going through all of this, right? I'm sitting here saying like, just keep going, just keep going. What is that, Dory from Finding Nemo? Anyways, so how do you keep going through that breakthrough? This is the hard part. Like, this is the hard part. Do you think that a tree has that root system, and then when it decides, okay, now it's time to start growing up, do you think there's any less resistance? Not until it breaks ground. And even then, there's resistance such as drought, such as too much rain, such as other structures in its way, right? There will always be resistance. There will always be clarity. It's the yin and yang of life. It's the yin and yang of nature. So don't quit at the root stage. It is hard. No one's clapping for that stage, right? No one really even sees it. No one really even knows what's happening. It's all so much of you and what you're going through day to day. I get it. It's hard. But not quitting in the root stage, staying grounded in what you know feels really aligned, even when you don't see the fruit yet. That's the power move. So just because something isn't visible yet, just because you don't see it, doesn't mean it's not working. Here's a way to think about it. And this is sort of what I try to do, what I really try to remind myself of when I'm feeling these moments of like, all I'm doing is building and nothing's actually fruit yet, right? Where's the damn fruit? These are things I remind myself. First, I always get a little bit curious. Instead of panicking when something's not working or like, it's just not sticking, it's not landing, I usually will get more curious than angry. Now, this wasn't always the case. This takes practice and it takes like awareness that this is happening, right? So these are just learned skills that I have sort of gotten a little bit better at over the last 5 years or so. Get really curious. Instead of panicking when something doesn't go the way you want it to, ask yourself, what can I learn from this point? Like from this moment where I know something's not working. What can I learn from this? What is this showing me that I wasn't really sure? Like, what do I really, really want? And what is this showing me about that? Because sometimes like we think that we don't get the result that we want, but it turns out we didn't actually want the thing that we thought we wanted. I know, it's wild. But that's why curiosity is so much more valuable and useful than anger, than panic, than comparison, than judgment, all the other things. So get curious. That's a great way to stay plugged in to the process without feeling overwhelmed by it or frustrated by it. Get curious, stay curious. What can I learn from this moment when this didn't work? What can I learn from this? Next, you want to kind of test what you're doing without any attachment to what that result is. Test it for the sake of testing it. Test it for the sake of curiosity. Don't make every misstep that you have mean something about you, mean something like crazy dramatic. It doesn't have to have any meaning. It can simply be a test of curiosity if this works or doesn't work. So try things, get feedback from people, pivot if needed, because it's all part of the process. It's all part of the root system that creates the fruit. Also, documenting things is really useful because when you're in these moments of trying to decide, oh my God, am I going to panic about this or am I going to just get curious about it? We don't always remember the things that are actually happening, right? We have this sort of filtered gaze of what's unfolding in front of us based on how we emotionally feel about it. And that's just the thing that we do as humans. So, because we know this, you can document things. You can take notes, record some voice memos. Like if there's something that, let's say you tried to launch something, it didn't, it flopped, whatever, it didn't do what you wanted it to do. You got curious. You asked yourself, okay, what can I learn from this? Pull out your phone and voice note yourself a memo. Ask yourself, okay, this is what happened. What can I learn from this? Blah, 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 blah. Just brain dump. Document what is happening in that moment so you can literally map your way into a different scenario. Always being curious, always testing, pivoting when needed, right? So taking notes, doing voice memos, journaling, whatever it is you're feeling, right? It depends. Do you like to listen? You like to write? You like to see? How do you learn? How do you retain information? This is how you need to document the things that you want to remember. Because you're literally mapping your brand's sort of origin story. You're mapping your brand and what it looks like today. And honestly, if you do this documentation work, it can be, it can turn into so much fruit because you can share that journey down the road, right? You can share what that rooting phase and that breakthrough phase before you got to the fruit, you can share what that was like for you. And that can help inspire somebody else to keep going, keep rooting, keep breaking through so they can find their own fruit. And it's always really important to just like reconnect to what your purpose is for doing this work, right? Because we're not here to just waste time and pretend to be important about something, at least not myself. If I'm going to show up and I am going to put my energy into something, it's going to be on purpose and it's going to be for something that I truly feel aligned with and want to participate in. So reconnecting with your purpose frequently, very powerful because fruit grows when plants are nurtured. Nurture your vision, nurture the ideas that you have. Stay curious about the ideas you have, right? Why did you start this in the first place? What was that vision that was pulling you forward and tempting you to, do this work in the first place? Because the last thing you want to do is dig up the whole tree when it's just getting started. And honestly, the best thing you can do in all of this is trust the timeline. We all want things today. I wanted it yesterday, right? Like we are so used to this immediacy, this like, I think it, I buy it, I have it. Well, that's not always what building a business is like, especially a business that you want to be sustainable for who you are 10 years from now. Do you want your business to be built around a trend? You might make a huge cash injection for like 3 months and then maybe you might not make another dime, right? So trends and like this attention grabbing stuff, that will always fade. But if you trust the timeline that your roots are doing the work, creating that foundation in order for you to have the fruit, I mean, the tree is exactly the same way, right? The tree doesn't rush the process. It goes as slow or as fast as the environment it is in allows it to. So your brand will bear the fruit if you leave it planted long enough and you continue to nurture it. And that's why this concept, like when I was listening to that Myron Golden episode, it's like, damn, so simple. And that's really like the most powerful statements and sentiments that I get out of life whenever I'm consuming content. I mean, it's the simple ones that really help you remember that it's not about the glitz and the trends and the virals, whatever. All of it comes back to the simplicity of nature, and that there is always going to be this duality that you have to create the root system before the fruit will ever bear. In your business, it's the same. And so it's such a great reminder. The fruit people see, like let's say your tree is gorgeous. It has blossomed. It has all the fruit. Everybody's looking at it and they're like, wow. But by the time your brand looks like that, people are booking you, you're getting all these new followers, they're buying from you. It can seem like you're an overnight success. But we both know that it was all that work in the quiet, in the dark, in the murky. It was all of that work that made what they see now, all that fruit, possible. So the clarity that you feel now, it came from some confusion, did it not? The strength that you feel in your decisions and in the direction that you're going, it came from falling and bumping into shit, did it not? Your big, beautiful brand, it grew in the dark first. And that darkness, it wasn't a delay in the process. It was part of the design. So if you're in a root season instead of a fruit season, keep going, keep rooting, keep showing up, even if it's just to explore and play and have fun and be curious, because that is still taking root. So, clarity, it's not usually found in just thinking harder about something, right? If only I just thought harder. It's found by doing. It's found by moving, by trying, by making an effort and maybe failing, making an effort and maybe succeeding. So even if you're not sure, even if it's clumsy, right? A little clumsy, a little messy, the fruit is going to show up and it's going to be fucking delicious, right? You know that. So if this episode hit home for you because maybe you are currently in your own root season, or maybe you just got out of it and you're like, oh, that was hard. Share this with a friend that might be going through the same thing, right? Or I would love to hear about what kind of season do you feel like you're in? Are you in sort of that root season where you're really trying to spread out and create this really stable environment for your business? Are you in that breakthrough season where you're trying to break through the earth and try to get some sunlight? Or are you in that fruit season where everybody thinks you were just an overnight success, but we both know it was all that work in the dark that made it possible? So keep walking through the dark. Try not to bump into too many things, but you will. And keep rooting down. And remember that the fruit, it's always, always coming. Continue to nurture it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. This was really fun for me. I'll see you next week in a whole brand new episode. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to Branded, the podcast. Please rate and review. And for more information, visit socialjanemedia.com.